A lot of kiting items outside the base on his own. It's tough for him to find the kills.
If Artcel's there, could look for a punish with like a glimpse kinetic field, but
as that BKB wears lower, it's going to get riskier and riskier to go for that kind of play.
So this is the time where LGD feel like, okay, we've got control. We now dictate the play. Normally it comes a lot early in the game, but it took a bit longer for Storm to come online. Wanted Bloodstone as well as the Orchid. Even the Lycan getting the BKB on top of the Necro 3 was important. So from here on out, as much as Na'Vi have the big teamfight wombo combo, LGD are going to be smoking around the map, trying to take objectives in at least safe fashion, and it feels like Na'Vi really have to just keep looking for that big teamfight combo.
They've shown they can pull it off.
Funnick's getting scouted here in the jungle. Let's be careful. That's a long ball lightning.
The Wolves, they give the vision needed. Can Funnick pop the mech in time here? He will. Tries to retreat. Actually, now Guardian Greaves, but still pursued by maybe completely out of mana. Has one more ball with the regen, and Funnick, no escape for him. Now bottom lane. Action breaking out there as well. Call down was thrown out. They get the Shao-Ite Lina. A slight win there for LGD, getting a core for a support around the map. But looking for a bit more here. Dendi trying to hunt MMY like an ult. Gearing up and racing in potentially. Even his illusions are charging forward with rapid speeds, while maybe is finding kills to the south of the fight. Up to the north, it breaks out in earnest, starts out with the TP out, escapes from the snowball, which just turns tail towards the well. And God, did you see how fast that gyrocopter had his rotors just ripped off and plummeted to the ground? Man, he didn't last a second.
Yeah, and this bottom tier 2 tower probably not going to last too long at all. 3 Na'Vi heroes on the sidelines, and the push is coming and coming fast. This is problematic for Na'Vi. LGD just outmaneuvering them. Always seem to have a numbers advantage when they take a fight, and they're just splitting Na'Vi up. They're not really committing to like one place on the map. They're not fighting around choke points. They're not fully grouping up as 5. They're forcing Na'Vi to spread,
and they're really having trouble just corralling the Storm and the Lycan. These two they're so mobile, especially the Storm of maybe. You have quote-unquote counters on paper, but just not the most mobile ones. They don't have a Hex yet. Your Disruptor is relatively poor, sitting at only, well, actually extremely poor, sitting at, it was Elite Gold for a moment, now just 1,344. Tough to wrangle him. Here comes the Lycan ult. Once again, it's online. It's up a lot at this stage of the game. And again, the jump in, maybe onto Funnick. They do have a Static Storm, and they drop it, but it's a complete airball from Artcell. This gives LGD the freedom to rush forward. More objectives are the goal. They may not even wait for the next Roche. With those kills, looking for more, and they even going to find Dendi, who throws himself up in the air. Can he blink out in time? No, the Echo! That's all, nothing else! One by one, Na'Vi fall like a house of cards, collapsing under the weight of the LGD onslaught, who look to continue rampaging through Group A. It's LGD at Secret, neck and neck here down the stretch, as they will force out the GG, sweep Na'Vi 2-0, and with this loss, Gods, Na'Vi 100% to the lower bracket for them. They are going to need some serious, serious plans to make their way forward from here.
Yeah, for Na'Vi in the main event, they'll be putting their life at stake in a best-of-1 lower bracket match. That's going to be tough, and they've had some signs of brilliance throughout this group stage. The consistency just hasn't been there, but started off today pretty strong, but I mean, you have games left against LGD, and LGD have just been, next to Secret, the 2 scariest teams in the tournament. So this was always going to be a tough one for Na'Vi, and unfortunately they fell short.
Good news about this year's format. They are not out of it. They won't be eliminated before the main event, but you know, as much as every loss we've seen from Na'Vi so far, they try to keep their chins up. They try their best to talk about what they can do for the next game. It has to start wearing on them at some point. They just can't seem to put together wins. And, you know, you even go back to day 1, the match against Cloud9, it felt like they could have 2-0'd them. That starts to come back to really haunt Na'Vi. And I worry about the morale even more than the potential of the team. But, well, with that, we're going to hand it back to the analysts, see what they think about Na'Vi, as well as how Group A is shaping up overall.
Yes. And welcome back, everyone. As we go forward, we do have a special guest here. We just wrapped up, of course, our match between Na'Vi and LGD. Na'Vi not looking so good. But before we talk about it, special guest Ben disappearing.
Special guest Ben.
no, Ben disappearing. And I didn't finish my sentence yet. And we do have Shiver. Welcome to the foyer. That's what we're calling it.
Oh, the foyer.
Yeah, the TI5 foyer.
Thank you very
if
much.
If you just want to say hi to all of our viewers.
Hello.
All right, I thought you were just going to end it hello. I was like, well, I'll take it literally. That's fine, too. Let's talk about the game really quick, and then let's kind of look at an overview of TFI, of course. Again, pretty much now nearing halfway, and, of course, in the case of Na'Vi, things pretty much settled for bottom 4 of Group A, huh? I think that's how it's going to be right now. So Na'Vi weren't able to pull through in Game 2. Sidran, walk us through Game 2 a little bit. Again, Na'Vi just weren't able to close it out.
Yeah, it's, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but, it's kind of the same problem again. The early game is either, again, they don't lose it horribly. It's pretty even. They, of course, start off on the wrong foot in the mid lane. They try to gank the Lycan of Sylar. He's one hit away from death, and then ultimately Dendi instead dies to the Wolves, which is, of course, getting off to a pretty bad start there. But apart from that, the early game laning stage goes okay for Na'Vi. We get to the mid game, and they just flat out get outplayed in pretty much every single situation. LGD has better planning, better movement, and it's the question right now, as you said, I think unless something very spectacular happens,
right,
Na'Vi are bottom 4. So how do they use the next 5 days properly going into the main event? What they need to do now is they need to look at their replays, they need to identify the pattern, and they need to find some sort of solution, either by drafting or by playstyle, to deal with it, because it's very similar.
Yeah, for me, the story of this game mostly was that Na'Vi, they had perfect high ground defense. They could fight. If they had an amazing combination of their skills, if they got a good team fight, they would win. If they got good positioning, they would win. But pick-off potential was all in the hands of LGD, and it's like they can't do anything then. And even though they can take those big fights, they can't take any objectives afterwards because the fights that they took were not at the right positions, and then you can't get objectives, and then they just couldn't do anything with the advantages that they could get with the fights that they had.
As you just mentioned, of course, Na'Vi did have some times of spark, even in Game 2, and we'll take a look at one of those right now in a highlight. And Winter, as we're looking at this highlight, LGD, on the other hand, again, they surprised many of us with that Lycan pick. Of course, it is a classic for Sylar, but not seeing it too commonly this time at TI5. What do you think about, I was going to say Lycan, what do you think about LGD now that we've seen them dominate once again over Na'Vi?
They took full advantage of their fight. The combo from Na'Vi missed, the vacuum into future didn't hit, and that's the weakness of when you have a full-on team fight lineup. You have to land your combinations, and if you don't, you just get punished. There's no room, again, no room for error. Na'Vi always have this type of lineup where I always say that, okay, it's either the room for error is low, or they can't make any errors at all. It's just difficult when you make mistakes like that, and you're counting on that one big team fight to turn the game around or just take a significant advantage, but you're just not getting it.
Yeah, they do turn it around towards the end, again, getting those combos in, but it was
a little too late.
Yeah, a little too late. 1 second too late, of course. You want to get it initially, right, if that's your composition. We were talking overall about, and we've been discussing, all right, where, what strategies are teams employing the most? What's kind of the safest bet right now? Of course, the safest is to try to cover all your grounds, as we see LGD and Secret doing. But in the case of teams that are going for just these massive combos, right, those one-move combos coming in, where else can they round it out? Or is that just the nature of one-move combos? That's kind of the risk you take. If you choose that strategy, you're just saying either it works or it doesn't.
LGD is the one choosing the fights, I feel, most of the time, because they have Storm and Lycan. They move you around the map, and Storm initiates if it's a good fight. They feel you're not together. Like a lot of the fights the customer mentioned, okay, Na'Vi is not ready to take the fight because they are not grouped out yet. Their lineup works very well if everyone is at the same area. But LGD move them around, and then they look for pickoffs when everyone is split up. Storm is just looking for whoever is alone, and they just start a fight there. And the TPs come in, but at the end of the day, it's going to be late. Someone is going to be already either dead or you're just too low to fight again.
As we take a look at just the ending moments again, just to recap Game 2, Shiva, overall, were you pleasantly surprised by LGD? Because I feel like it was kind of split in the community. Either people were like, definitely top 2, top 3, or everyone was like, no, way overhyped.
Before the group stages, I was not expecting them to be on top of the group stages, or at least top 2 in this case. I'm definitely impressed by them. They've been playing some solid Dota, and they are, as you mentioned, covering all their bases. They can counter almost anything. They have been playing all kinds of different styles of Dota. They've been playing the pick-off Dota, as they did just now, but at the same time, they also have a Lycan in their team, so if a pick-off is successful, they've got the push there as well, they've got a bit of team fight in there as well. They have a very well-rounded squad there, so I think they did surprise me, but I shouldn't be surprised by that.
Syndern, of course, we've discussed LGD quite a few times now. We said earlier, all right, Secret and LGD, at this point, no one should be surprised coming in after a couple of these matches. are you still convinced that maybe they'll just go all the way through the upper bracket once they enter the bracket stage?
You're saying still convinced? Because I don't know if I don't feel like I was like Shiva going in. I wasn't expecting them to be on top of this group together with Secret. So the question is if they've won me over.
Okay.
They've definitely like changed my expectation for where they're going to end up. I think they're going to be up very high now. Top 4 seems pretty likely. As for getting to the finalists, those kind of predictions are like pretty much impossible right now because you're looking at EG, you're looking at Secret playing well, you're looking at definitely LGD as well, and then the question is who is going to rise during the main event because there's always someone who rises to the occasion.
Very true.
And we need to remember it's group stages right now. The teams are playing for top 4, and then when you're in the winner bracket, that's the most important thing. Like the breaking point is. Are you winner or lower bracket? And then if you're in the winner bracket, it's about do you get to pick your opponent or not? Like those are the 2 most important things. And some of the teams that I think are going to be really strong, such as Vici Gaming, I still have a lot of faith in them. As long as they make the winner bracket, they might not be a team that the winner of this group will want to pick anyway, actually. So they might get a decent opponent and a matchup they would be interested in. So LGD, top 4.
Okay. As we take a look at the standings, I actually want to ask all 3 of you, and maybe Shiva, you the most, since we've discussed this lightly with the other guys here on the panel before. But is there something maybe we should take into account in the fact that once you go further into the bracket, obviously we're going to have best of series, right? It's not going to be best of 1s or best of 2s. Do you think LGD will adapt well in that system? Because what we discussed earlier was that maybe they don't adapt too well in game. But what about from game to game? How do you see that panning out?
I see that like that's actually a pretty big difference. I feel. I mean, obviously here a 2-0 is a big difference from having a 1-1 in terms of points. So I do feel like they are still trying everything to get that second win in as well. But after losing one game, you're going to go into the best of 3 thinking, you can still win this. And I think that mentality changed already to be able to go into a best of 3 and thinking you can still do this if you win the next 2 games. And you, of course, learning from that first game to know what you did wrong and to know how your enemy plays and maybe get a bit of a better feel in terms of timings. I think the change for in this case, specifically LGD, will definitely be in favor of them. I think they can grow from game to game. And I mean, top 4, I think it's pretty bold somewhere, but I can see it. I can definitely see them ending there in the top 4, yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for Group A for now on the mainstream. Of course, another day left to swap up the standings a little bit, but LGD and Secret both have 14 points now. That's pretty monumental. Cloud9, Winter, you talked about this, but now they're in the top 3 with 10 points, leading ahead of Complexity, Fnatic, Navi, and of course, I mean, teams like Navi, IGN, MVP Phoenix, definitely no chance to catch up to Cloud9 at this point. How do you feel about Cloud9 surging back up after a rough day 1?
I mean, they definitely made a lot of improvements from the first day, and I was talking to their coach when we were having lunch just now, and he was even surprised that it was so much of a difference between the first day and second day. Something must have happened during the day they were talking, and they fixed something really important, and everything is clicking now for Cloud9.
Okay.
Yeah. And they started the day with the 2-0 against IG as well, which I think is a real confident boost. And if you're going to ride that high, the emotional high, I mean, that's going to kick in as well.
Of course. On Group B then. Group B, again, we've been saying, a little bit closer so far. Also not as many matches as Group A. But the match coming up is going to be VP versus MVP Hot 6. Now, neither team at the very top of Group B. VP had some pleasant surprises. At the same time, Hot 6, maybe we should just put it as more some sparks, but no real closers or nothing too spectacular that people said, wow, Hot 6 has really thrown us off a little bit. Syndran, how do you view this matchup, and how crucial do you think this is for both teams?
So I can't remember. Do we have the? Can we bring up the standings again?
Yeah,
I can't remember the exact scores of the 2 teams. I believe has Hot 6 won one series 2-0? They've got one. No, they drew with Vici, right?
Yeah,
okay,
then
they have one draw Vici Gaming, and then
2 losses.
Okay, here we go. Here's our answer. So Hot 6, one draw.